Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Irene. Have you ever tried making Christmas ornaments out of spun cotton? If you have, probably you faced some problems with working with cotton because when you try it for the first time, it may be a little bit hard to work with because cotton and glue become sticky and you have a lot of mess. So today I want to show you an interesting technique which will help you simplify this process. This is making ornaments using silicone molds. I'll start with making nice and easy simple snowflake ornaments. The technique of filling molds with cotton is quite simple. Apply some white glue into the mold, then apply cotton wool. I'm doing this using very thin pieces so that the fibers are distributed throughout the mold. Press the first layer of soaked cotton with a springy brush. Then apply a second layer. I'm filling all the molds like this, tamping the cotton thoroughly layer by layer. In the end, you may want to press the cotton with your fingers as well. Then send the filled molds to dry for a couple of days. I've decided to hang the snowflakes using a monofilament. It looks like a very thin fishing line and is almost invisible, so it was hard to film. I'm making a loop out of the thread, tying the ends and attaching it to the snowflake, and then fastening it on the inside with another small piece of cotton. I'm painting the snowflakes using pearl paint, and you may want to sparkle them in the very end for extra glow. Look how cute these little snowflakes are. You can also use these snowflakes for decorating large Christmas balls. I used to make such embellishments using self-hardening clay, but with cotton you'll get lightweight, shatterproof ornaments, which is definitely an advantage for a Christmas tree. Next, I'll try making a dimensional ornament. I'll use an owl mold as well as bird molds to see what will come out. This was pure experiment after all. The owl mold turned out to suit really well for these purposes. It is quite large and has a wide base. You can apply cotton easily and it dries relatively quickly. I'm also smearing the mold with white glue and applying thin pieces of cotton along the mold sides. You want the cotton fibers to cover the entire surface of the mold on the inside in a thin layer. A brush wouldn't work here, so I'm pressing the cotton to the sides with my fingers. When I tried to make such an ornament for the first time, the biggest problem was with drying, because cotton wool takes forever to dry in a mold. Therefore, now I'm trying to do this in several steps. After the first thinnest layer is dry, you can speed it up with a hairdryer or a fruit dryer. I'm applying the second layer of cotton. It is also very thin. I'm waiting for it to dry as well. The cotton will become firm and crusty, and then I'm taking out the figurine. Be careful, it is still fragile and you can crumple it very easily. And then you can continue applying cotton, making the side thicker. Once the figurine is out of the mold, it dries much faster. But before adding more cotton, be sure to thread a hanging loop. I've remembered it a bit late, and it was hard to pierce the wet ornament. It would be way easier to do it when dry. After the sides are thick enough, I'm stuffing the ornament with more dry cotton and covering the hole in the legs with more cotton and some glue. Once the ornament is dry, I'll paint it. I'm painting the owl golden ochre. In real life, owls are much darker, of course, but I've decided to make it a little bit brighter. After the paint has dried, I'm dry brushing the ornament brown, emphasizing the relief. I'm painting the eyes using glossy paint. First I'm also painting them ochre, then I'm making the pupils black. And I'm circling the outer edge with a darker brown shade to make the eyes look more vivid. And finally, I'm outlining the eyes black with a thin brush. By the way, I think you can try inserting glass eyes when filling the mold with cotton here. The owl will look even more vivid like this. I'm tinting the beak and the paws brown, and I'm also touching the edges of the wings and around the eyes with brown. And finally, I'm dry brushing the whole bird white. Additionally, I've applied a glossy varnish onto the eyes. And in the very end, I'm sealing the ornament with white glue, and here you can add mica or sparkles. Well, isn't it adorable? The best is that you can make a whole bunch of ornaments like this, even if you can't sculpt at all. This can be a nice little gift for Christmas. Making and painting them is quite easy. I had much more fuss with the birds, because these molds are smaller and more intricate in shape, so it was much harder to fill them with cotton. In places, some details are missing because of this. So, for using this technique with 3D molds, best is to use bigger molds with a wide bottom, like bears, bunnies, squirrels, and the like. I'm also strengthening the bases after taking them out of the molds on the inside with several layers of cotton, and in the end I'm filling them with dry cotton and then trimming the lower part and cutting off the excess. Next, I'll paint the birds. I've decided to make bullfinches. At first I tried watercolor paints, but I didn't like the look as I got spots, so I've switched to acrylic paints, which I'm more used to. I've painted the breast upper part red. Here I've painted the top and the sides, leaving the center white, making a kind of a horseshoe in shape. I'm painting the middle of the breast orange, and finally the very bottom pink. So I ended up having a smooth color transition from darker to lighter. I'm painting the bird backs gray, covering the failed watercolor painting. And finally I'm painting the heads, the tails, the bottom with the wings and the paws black. When painting, it's a good idea to put a photo of a real bullfinch in front of you and try to paint something similar. I'll make the bullfinches sitting on a branch, and for this I'll make cotton leaves using molds. I think this is a holly. And I'll use a dry twig. I'm hot gluing the birds onto the twig. At that moment, I've remembered that I forgot to draw the eyes, so I'm drawing them with glossy paint and a special tool for making dots. But back to the leaves, I'm painting them using watercolor paints, mixing 2 shades of green right on the leaves. It looks very natural, and as watercolor blurs once applied onto a wet basis, you'll end up with a nice play of colors. I've painted the underside green as well, and I'm painting the berries red. Here I'm using acrylic paint for a brighter look. And after drying, I'm hot gluing the leaves onto the twig. For hanging the ornament, I've made something like a swing out of wire. I'm wrapping the wire in a thin layer of cotton, covering it with white glue and also coating the entire ornament with more glue and sprinkling it with mica. I really like how the bullfinches turned out. They are so bright, elegant, and holly leaves really add to the look. You can hang the birds onto a Christmas tree or use them for decorating a wreath, a lantern, add to a winter arrangement, and so on. And finally, I'll show you a winter girl. Let's start with making a face. For the face, I bought a mold and made a cast out of polymer clay and baked it in an oven according to the instructions. Then I'll paint the cast. First, I'm mixing an ivory paint with an orange one to get a skin shade and painting the whole face. Then I'm drawing the eyes and the eyebrows dark brown. I'm painting the whites of the eyes. I'm painting the irises dark blue and the pupils black. Finally, I'm adding 2 highlights in the eyes to make the eyes look more vivid. I'm painting the mouth pink. And also blushing the cheeks a little with a sponge. While the face dries, I'll make a body frame. I'm making the frame of the little girl the right size. Here I kept in mind that a child's total height is about 4 to 5 head sizes, so in this case I used the face cast as a guide. I'm wrapping the finished frame in cotton. And I'm making mittens right away by wrapping the hands with shreds of cotton and attaching a smaller shred for a thumb. Then I'm building up the sleeves and the pants, also wrapping pieces of cotton until they are thick enough. Next, I'll make a dress. I'm separating a very thin layer of cotton, placing it onto a plastic base and coating it with glue on both sides. I'm drying it a little with a hair dryer and then shaping it into a skirt while the cotton is still damp to make beautiful folds. When I began working with cotton a couple of years ago, at first I painted the completely finished ornaments and it turned out to be very inconvenient, as it was hard to be accurate in places. So now I usually paint in several steps and sculpting in several steps as well. Here I'll start with the pants and I'm painting them gray. Then I'm painting the skirt turquoise. I'm attaching it to place and stuffing it with more cotton so that the skirt keeps its shape until it dries completely. I'm making casts for decorating the girl's dress using another mold. This one is a little bit big for me, so I'm cutting it into pieces and then painting it silver. And I'm attaching the casts onto the dress. Next, I'll make the felt boots. I'm wrapping the foot with pieces of cotton to make the boot leg. Then I'm attaching a small cotton ball to the toe and wrapping it all with another piece. And here we go! In the meanwhile, the painted face has dried and I'm tying the mold to the frame with a strong thread and adding more cotton to the back of the head, the chest and the back, hiding all the joints. I'm also tinting the chest, and next I'll dress the girl in a fur coat. I'm separating a layer of cotton of the right size and wrapping the girl in it. Then I'm pulling out all the excess cotton from under the armpits and the shoulders until I manage to arrange this layer like a vest. Then I'm coating the cotton with glue. Here you can build it up with thin tufts of cotton if there is not enough volume anywhere. By the way, speaking about the glue for cotton ornaments, I use the cheapest one, like the one from Dollar Tree, which glues paper very badly. But this makes it perfect for cotton. Good quality white glue can be too sticky for cotton ornaments and you may want to thin it with water before applying. Originally, cornstarch glue was used for this type of ornaments. It is way better because it is not sticky at all, but I haven't tried it yet. And I also tried using egg white for gluing cotton. It is also not sticky. Now 3 years have passed and the snowman I made with it look perfect. No smell or mold, so I can recommend this method as well. After drying, I'll paint the fur coat. I've decided to make it rich burgundy and I started with watercolors, but it looked too pale, so I had to go and buy acrylic paint in the shade I wanted. Next, I'll make a hat. I'm making the fluffy high hat with a sharp tip. I think it is called a bonnet. To make hair, I'm braiding 3 thin bundles of cotton. And I'm also making lots of small thin pieces and I'm painting all of these using watercolors to look like blonde shade. And after drying, I'm attaching the hair to the figurine. Next, I'm painting the hat and the mittens. I'm making them gray. And finally, for making a fur trim, I'm rolling around it sausage from a long thin layer of cotton and wrapping a piece around the face. This is the head trim. And attaching 2 long sausages along the edge of the coat. I remember I was so upset the very first time I made a fur coat from cotton when I had to paint it. After painting white, cotton doesn't look so nice and fluffy and it's so easy to make the trim dirty when painting a coat, so this way of attaching the trim after everything is painted and dried is much more convenient. I also want to try dyeing cotton in bulk using fabric dyes. Next time I'll try this method. I'm making a fluffy white collar around the neck and white cuffs. Well, now let's remember we're trying out the technique of molding cotton today. I've decided to make curly embellishments to decorate the fur coat. I'm filling the mold with cotton as I have already shown, tamping it in layers with a springy brush. I'm painting the embellishments silver. The finished items are very clean and firm, but at the same time they are easy to bend if you need to attach them to a rounded surface. I'm attaching the decorations onto the coat. In the very end, I've decided to add more snow, so I'm dry brushing the fur coat white. And to make the girl sparkle in the light of Christmas lights, I'm applying mica, of course. The girl turned out to be so pretty, although I'm not so happy with the face mold, it's a bit clumsy. I want to try to DIY the molds using the doll faces I like. As for the experimental part, the decorations came out very nice. They are easy to dry if you use flat molds, the prints are clean and flexible, and decorating a fur coat with them was a real pleasure. So I really hope that today's video will inspire you to make the most beautiful ornaments, lightweight and shatterproof. Well, I hope you liked today's projects. I also want to remind you that I have the whole playlist all about Christmas ornaments out of spun cotton. I'll link it down below. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in my next video. Bye!